السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم إنك حميد مجيد. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. We mentioned last time regarding some of the diseases of the heart and regarding the upcoming Ramadan, how and what to do during the upcoming Ramadan. So before Ramadan, how a person can try and when a person tries to clean out his heart, to try to render his heart in a way which is soft. So then when the upcoming Ramadan comes, then a person can enter Ramadan in a state where he is much more able to feel something, much more able to benefit from Ramadan. So last time we talked about shahna. Shahna is to do with hatred, how we have hatred for other people. So it sits in a person's heart. So once this sits in a person's heart, it affects how your Ramadan is. It affects your ibadat. It affects your worship. Why? Because you're thinking of the other person. You're thinking about hatred for the other person. You're thinking about malice and some sort of thing. And it affects your worship because you're thinking about the other person all the time. That's in your heart. It's something which is occupying you, and which things that you're supposed to be occupied by, now that thing is occupying you. Whether it's a brother, whether it's a family member, whether it's someone. So this is now another kind of angle, another disease of the heart, where we're trying to conquer, we're trying to overcome, we're trying to clean out our hearts from this certain disease. This disease is jealousy, envy, jealousy. I'll use both words because they're very similar meanings. Jealousy and envy. I'll use the word jealousy. So jealousy is, in Arabic we'll call it hasad. So jealousy is such where a person has some sort of feeling or emotion inside of the heart for another person which is negative. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentions regarding jealousy. He mentions it when he says that I warn you. He's warning us regarding jealousy. Because I warn you against jealousy, because jealousy eats up our good deeds. What does it do? It eats up our good deeds. All of that salah that we done, all of that dua that we done, that dhikr, that Qur'an, that good deeds that we thought was good, whether it's charity, anything that we do. If a person has hasad, if a person has jealousy, then it's eating up all those good deeds. And he explains, Rasulullah sallallahu explains that like a fire eats up twigs. Just how you put a twigs or wood in a pile, and then you put fire at the bottom. What's going to happen to the fire? What's going to happen to the twigs? What's going to happen to the bark? What's going to happen to the wood? Then it's going to burn. So all of our good deeds are burning as well, just because we've got this certain feeling and emotion inside of the heart. And that is this jealousy. Know that everything that's got to do with the heart, it's always going to be a major sin. Everything that, any kind of disease that just linked towards the heart, it's always going to be some sort of link towards a major sin. It's not something minor. It's going to be something which is major sin. These diseases of the heart. We talked about malice and hatred last time. Now this is to do with jealousy. It's a major sin to have this in a person's heart. A huge sin. And look what effects it has on our good deeds. So that's why it's very important to try and know regarding this subject. Remember, all of the diseases of the heart are major sins. So why is this one on a higher level? Why is this one regarding our heart? Why is this one going to cause us so much trouble? Why is this one going to affect us so badly and negatively, and the others which may to do with the heart doesn't? So what's the reason of this higher status of sin, higher level of sin, and higher effect of sin compared to others? I'll give the examples of the heart that sometimes we have doubts. Sometimes we have, shaitan comes on behind us and starts whispering in our ears. When a person is out of the dhikr of Allah, he's not thinking, they daydream, or they have certain doubts about Islam, doubts about Allah, doubts about the Qur'an, whatever it is, they have doubts about Islam. So then shaitan comes and he whispers inside of the person. The person's now daydreaming, he's got nothing to do, he's bored, which happens a lot nowadays, where people are bored, I don't know what to do. So shaitan comes and whispers inside of the heart. Once you whisper inside of the heart, then he's like, makes you think. And then that thinking that comes through the heart, it may be something which is completely incorrect, something which is blasphemous, something which is against Islam, But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that these thoughts come inside of the heart, just let it go. And if a person has these doubts and these thoughts inside of the heart and he lets it go, you won't be held accountable. You will not be held accountable for these doubts. Even though how vulgar and filthy and how blasphemous these thoughts are, you just let it go. I won't take you to account. The only part where Allah will take you to account about these doubts and stuff is that He puts it inside of the, once it comes inside of the heart, you start to entertain these thoughts. You start to keep these thoughts. You start to make plans about these thoughts. And then you start to do something regarding these thoughts. Then Allah says, why are you thinking about it longer than you should do? Why are you having it in your heart longer than you should do? Why are you making plans about these things more than you should do? So this is where accountability comes. So normally doubts come, you let it go, then there's no accountability, there's no sin for this in general terms. And people that don't act upon it, then obviously a person that does act upon it, then obviously there will be sin. So generally there's no accountability for doubts and so forth. But when it comes, or even when you have the emotion of anger, so when a person is angry, it's natural to feel angry. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to feel this as well, but used to control it, and he told us how to control it as well. So anger comes as well. So anger will come to you when something has happened, something makes you angry, someone has done something to you, someone has said something to you, and there's anger inside of your heart. So obviously Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentions regarding, you should cool down, step outside of the room if you have to. If you're standing, then sit down. If you're sitting, then lie down, make wudu, and there's different things for anger. But don't act upon the anger, because once you do, then you're going to be in real trouble. But having the anger, there's no sin for having anger. It's a natural emotion that you have. There's no sin in it. There's no accountability. Why are you angry for? It happens. It's part of natural human emotion that a person has. So that you won't get sin for this. Same as doubts. If you let it go, then there's no sin for this. But when it comes to jealousy, when it comes to envy, once it enters into your heart, then you question, why is this coming to your heart for? Why is this inside of your heart for? Why? Because jealousy comes, as soon as it comes in, you're sinful for it. As soon as it comes inside of your heart, you're sinful for it. So as soon as it exists there, it enters there, you're sinful for this. Compared to the other ones which I mentioned, you're not sinful. You're accountable for having jealousy inside of your heart. You're accountable for having hasad and envy inside of your heart. So how does this work? One is obviously you're having jealousy, that's a sin. Acting upon jealousy, that's double. That's a different sin. Just like how a burning fire comes and it takes away your deeds and so forth. So why is this? We have depression, we have sadness, that emotion, that comes, that's allowed to have. I'm allowed to be sad sometimes, allowed to be depressed sometimes. If I act upon it, and I go and commit suicide because of depression and sadness, then obviously there's sin for this. Same with, I mentioned anger, same with love. I'm allowed to have love in my heart. There's halal love and there's haram love. So if I act upon the haram part, then obviously there's sin inside it. But having the love is fine. Having love inside of your heart is fine. So these things which are allowed inside of the heart, which are fine, and you don't get accounted for. But there's also certain things that if you do, these things which you don't not account for, if you keep it inside of your heart, or it's something to do with the illicit relationships that you're having, or whatever it leads to, then you are accountable. But what's the difference? Why is jealousy, as soon as it enters, you're sinful? Why is it there? Why is this of a higher level sin compared to the others? Jealousy is such where you ask yourself, what has that other person that you're jealous of? You're jealous of another person, your brother. So what has he done, or what has that person done to you to make you jealous? Has he done anything to you? If he's done nothing to you, just by being successful, just by having more money, just by having a better car, a better lifestyle, let's say, a better house or whatever it is, and you're jealous of that person. He hasn't done nothing to you. If that person hasn't done anything to you, but you're jealous of that person, there already, as soon as that jealousy enters the heart, you're sinful. You're completely sinful for that feeling of the heart. So and remember that stems from, where does that come from? It comes from your ego. It's like, why has he got more than me? Why has something good happened to him? Why is this happening to him and not me? So basically, what it leads towards, or what is coming from, is that your lack of iman, your lack in faith, that Allah is the one that gives everybody, and you're unhappy with what Allah has given you, and you're unhappy with what Allah has given this person, because He's given this person more and He's given you less, or whatever it is, and you're feeling jealous of this. So you're unhappy. It's to do with faith, it's to do with your iman, that you're unhappy with the qadr of Allah, you're unhappy with what Allah has decreed. So imagine that's sinful. That's where the sin comes into play. So that's why it's very extremely important to realize all of these things, monitoring and knowing regarding your heart. What's happening in my heart? Why am I having these feelings? What has this person done to me that I'm feeling like this for? So all of these things are there for a reason, and it's a different type of test. And these are harder to handle. These are harder to see, harder to realize than a normal something which is alcohol. It's haram, don't have to have it. Something which is to do with pork and pigs, don't have to have it. It's easier to handle that way. It's easier because it's physical. Something that you can't see, it's to do with feelings and emotions, and all your feelings and emotions are mixed up together and you don't know what it is. It's harder to try and realize and capture. So we've got to be on the ball regarding the whispers of shaitan and these diseases entering our heart. The disease that we see normally. We have a disease, we go to the doctor, we find someone and so forth, and then we can tell us, we diagnose with something, and then we have certain medicine for it. So that's easier because you can see some of the medicine, you can see that sometimes it's working, sometimes it's not working. It's easier to realize, but these are harder. But each and every single one which is linked towards the heart, the disease, they're all major sins. They're all major sins. They're not minor sins, they're major. They're huge, higher level. If you have one of these diseases, they're like disease of pride, you're not going to enter Jannah. One of those things here, you're not going to enter Jannah. That's why it's very, very important to realize what's happening here. Because that's what kind of controls everything. What's happening here, in here, what is going on? And if you're just kind of blindly looking at this and following whatever you feel like, then you're in trouble, or you're going to be in trouble. That's why it's really important to talk about these diseases of the heart. So I mentioned regarding jealousy as a weakness. Jealousy as a weakness of iman. So how do we find jealousy, and how do we realize what's jealousy and what's going on? How do I realize that I'm a jealous person, or I have jealousy entering my heart? How does this happen? Number one, if you realize that you're thinking negatively about another person for no real reason. The other person, you're thinking negative things. Oh, I wish something bad happens to him. Or I wish he doesn't get this. Or I wish something happens to him. He does this, or his marriage breaks up, or he loses his job, or whatever it is. Oh, I just hope he just gets punched or something. Or whatever it is, man. I hope something happens to him, man. If you're thinking negatively about him, you know something's bad regarding your heart. You know that something is jealousy. You're obsessed with that person. Something should happen to him. This happened. If you have this feeling, know that there's something there, and it's probably envy or jealousy, having this jealousy about another person. So that's one kind of way of realizing that you have jealousy in your heart. The second one is that if you have your brother and you rejoice, you get very happy that something bad's happened to him. Something bad has happened to him, he got hurt, or he deserves it. Or he's like this person, he's like that, but he deserves everything, man. Just leave him go. Let him go to the bottom of the pits of, leave him. Who cares about it? It's like that. So if you're rejoicing about the other person's misfortune, you know there's something there, and that shouldn't be there. And that is usually envy or jealousy. And the third one is that, how do we find, is that when others are happy, you find that your brother is happy, your family is happy, whatever it is, that person there, he's happy. And inside of your heart you think, why is this guy happy for? Why is he happy for? I should be, why has he got all of this stuff? So that's again, something that shouldn't be there. Should not be there. And then realize that, okay, I realize that I've got something there, I shouldn't have it. So now we're going to work on to, how do I get rid of jealousy? How do we get rid of jealousy? So the three things I'll mention, how do you find jealousy? One is to do with thinking negative thoughts about others, rejoicing at their misfortune, and then when others are happy, there's like some pain in the heart. There's some pain in the heart. These are the three things. How do I get rid of jealousy? And this is what we're going to come to and finish on. How do I get rid of it? I don't want it there. It's going to eat all of my good deeds up. How do I want it? How do I get rid of it? So there's a few ways the ulama have mentioned. Remember this, that you've got to realize it's an internal battle. It's you're thinking one way that you're hating the other person, so you've got to switch that up. You're going to battle that emotion that you have, and you're going to kind of twist it around, and you've got to beat that emotion. It's an internal kind of battle that you're going to have. So how do you do this? Remember this, that jealousy, see, when it comes to people you don't know, you're not going to be jealous of people you don't know. You're not going to be jealous of people you don't know. You're going to be jealous of people that you do know. It could be your close family member, your brother, your sister, whatever it is. Someone close to you, someone your friends, your school friends. Your school friends, you work together and now he's successful and you're not successful. It could be like this. It could be anything. But usually people you know, you're more jealous of. You're not going to really be jealous of people you don't really know. Or even if he's someone famous and really rich, you don't really, generally speaking, you don't really have that jealousy for him. You might think of bad of it. Not really, it's not going to be jealousy. So it's something usually close to someone close to you. Usually that jealousy comes. So how do we get rid of it? Number one, I've already mentioned kind of, is that you monitor your heart. You should know that those three things that I mentioned, if something's coming inside of your heart, then you got to do something about it. Monitor your heart. Know what the hell is going on inside of your heart. Because if you don't know and you're blind looking, then you're going to be in trouble. So know what's inside of your heart. Number two, and this is many ulama have mentioned this one, is that the moment you read the words of Allah, the moment you recite the Qur'an, the dhikr of Allah, isti'adha, a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. This is the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. When a person is idle, he's thinking, I don't know what to do, I'm bored, these modes that he's in, then this is where shaitan comes. This is when shaitan comes and he whispers. But the time shaitan comes out again and he doesn't whisper is when they remember Allah, is when they make the dhikr of Allah, is when they read the Qur'an, is when they make isti'adha. Then the shaitan comes and he retreats. This is why we say الذي قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس. Khannas is the one he draws back. He comes back out of the person. He retreats from a person's heart. He comes back. Why? Because he remembers Allah. So once the more remembering of Allah, then that's when shaitan stops the whispering and that disease starts to fester from there. So the Qur'an recitation, all of these things helps in cleaning out the heart. And the last one, and this is probably another way which is very effective. If you're having problems of jealousy with that person, let's say it's your brother. So you're jealous of your brother. Once you see your brother and you're jealous of him, and he's got more than you, wealth-wise, family-wise, everything-wise, you make dua for him. You make dua that, oh Allah, give him more wealth. Oh Allah, give him more children. And you might not like it, but this is the battle that you have. You make dua, I feel jealous about this person that he's doing this and he's got this. I'm going to make dua that he gets even more. I'm going to make dua, he gets even more. So that jealousy starts to leave your heart then. Jealousy starts to leave your heart then. So these are the three main ways of how to deal with envy and jealousy. I mentioned at the beginning, regarding the hadith of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He's warning us against jealousy, and it eats up. Jealousy eats up your good deeds, just like a fire eats up twigs. So all of the diseases of the hearts are major sins. And the difference between this disease of the heart or enterings of the heart is that you're not supposed to have it in the heart from the beginning. And once it enters, it's already a sin just by its mere existence as well. And we mentioned regarding other kind of thoughts which is allowed in the heart. If you act upon it, you'll get sinful, but usually if it's there, then you're not accountable. And the three things that we mentioned, how to find jealousy, thinking negative about others, rejoicing at their misfortune, and when others are happy, there's pain in the heart. And how to deal with envy, we mentioned regarding monitoring our heart, reading the Qur'an recitation and so forth, and make dua for the person that you're jealous of. So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us the ability to act upon what has been said. Wa akhiru da'wan alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.